again, my name is Kevin Montgomery, KRM Architecture. And we've been working with you guys on studying the Oleo Road site and the conceptual design for a potential third branch. We've met with the staff about monthly and leadership, and then we've met with the Building and Grounds Committee as well one time. So this is an update as we're about halfway through the kind of conceptual design phase of the project. And a reminder and update on the overall schedule is we continue our work into the first year. Us working with Veritas to put together a budget. And I think at your February meeting, there's going to be a financial update from Bond Financial Advisory on what the timing of financial approvals could look like throughout next year. And if you move forward with that and things were positive, we re-engage and work on design through the rest of 26 with potential building in 27. So still very early on in the process. Is that pretty well? Great. Update, reminder, refresher. This is your property that we've been looking to use just off Oleo Road. And there to the right in pink is the roughly 1 acre that you've agreed to sell to the city as part of their road widening project. To the north, we have the existing fire station. And then again, kind of a reminder, and I mentioned this only, we didn't have this diagram on this last time. So to show what the Gatewood Lakes master plan being developed by the Hinkie Development Company is planning. To the west of you, you can see mostly single family platting and residences over towards the west. And then there's kind of 2 different mixed use, more density districts. They're calling this one Heritage Commons. And it would, to me, it looks to be the most dense and have a little bit more commercial retail space within it. And then you kind of get a mix of it, but probably more townhome, some multifamily buildings throughout the market, which will be, across the street from you guys. This drawing has been around for quite a long time. They haven't shared any update to it, but we know, like for instance, the city's roadway project actually has a pretty good swale and retention right here. So we know this road will not connect over there. So it looks like there'll be a significant intersection potentially here. This is 146th. You can't read that, but so it looks like there's definitely going to be some connection here. It looks like there may be one more somewhere along here south of your site. So information that we have now. This is not Hinkie. This is owned by the city, and that's where they're starting what they call their Innovation Mile District. So the interstate is just off this page. So a little bit more context for everyone. And then this is where we're at from a site planning stage. We looked at a few different orientations of the building, parking lot all in front and the building set back, or the building to the north. This is the arrangement that the whole team has liked for several reasons. It works really well with where a few different utilities happen on the site and come across the road, have kind of a center curb cut. This is your lowest point of your site. There's kind of a bit of a wetlands now. It's mostly in the property that the city has bought, but still this is your lowest point. It's got a good location to tie into stormwater. So that kind of placed itself for us. This orientation will give, your kind of main frontage facade facing the parking lot face north, which makes it able to have really transparent glass. You don't have to worry about the glare and the heat gain. And then you've got, some space available here for really great outdoor programming. We're kind of identifying this as probably a children's play area, what that means. And if there's, playground equipment, things like that, that's all to be determined. But, some form of a story walk, green space to have the children come out here, or the whole public as well. And then important to show that we're identifying, to the south, space for future expansion if need be. So the footprint in white is 30 to 32,000 square feet. And we know we have at least another 20,000 square feet of expansion space should you ever need that. And, potentially with that, you may need more parking. So, expandable parking lot space as well. And then, more refinement to come on how these things exactly will work, but we've got space for a drive-up window, a really nice entrance. There's some grade change that will happen. It's relatively flat site, but it kind of crowns in the middle. So we will be up from the road 6 or 7 feet at the point of the building. So, starting to explore how that topography, would work at the corner and really create a really nice presence as you pass by the building or come into the site. Here, note 10 is the trail that will be part of the road widening project. And then, just showing an option that we'll explore of, maybe bringing a spur of that trail more onto your site, creating a little bit of amenity space. Or in some way, we want to make sure there's a really welcoming pedestrian path to the building that could just follow your drive, or it could do something larger like this. Any questions or comments about the site plan? We can obviously just come back. So these numbers represent the collection planning that kind of went into the space programming to help determine the footprint and the size of the building. So we did an analysis of Fisher's on the left and Noblesville on the right, and looked at your collection numbers. Both buildings all have quite a few amenity spaces, meeting spaces, and lounge furniture, which are similar to what we think you'll see in the new space. So we use this as a gauge and to talk with staff about how the buildings are used now, so you have a good reference point. And Fisher's is at 1.2 items per square foot, and Noblesville is 1.3 items per square foot. So we
1.82.
Yes, sorry, yeah. And then also looked at it without including much AV. That's where we believe this branch will be headed, is very limited AV collection. So showed different options and worked with your leadership team, and they elected this model that runs at 1.56 items per square foot. And so that information was important to us. I know you can't read this, but this is just our Excel form that's filling out, how much space we need for each collection, and then how much space for offices, how much space for the meeting room, large program room. So, if we want, we could zoom in and see kind of, these are basically all the rooms or spaces identified within the building. I'm not going to try and zoom, so I might not get back out right now, but it comes up to, matches that 32,000 square foot, which is early on where the budget is kind of leading this project towards. So trying to keep everything aligned with one another. Had good conversations with staff, some of the managers, and feedback on this, and we'll continue to do that and refine that as we develop floor plans further and further. Right now, where we are at with that layout, again, began with a few versions of this. Placing large departments first and then layering on more information. So north is still up, so you can see, here's that potential drive up book window, a large entrance area that brings you into kind of a building core. And, all the white is generally circulation space. We've got a main welcome desk service point here. And then you go, this direction's towards most adult services. So that's here in blue, several study rooms, collection space, kind of a quieter corner to the building, great windows out. This darker gray is restroom core, and then you've got your large community event room and programming space here. Now this can funnel people outside, or you can have pre-function. You could also choose to close this off after hours. A lot of flexibility by placing it in this corner. It's also a great spot, architecturally to express the building, create, a larger volume, have high ceilings in one of your largest spaces like that. Cut down kind of the middle here, and you'd be able to circulate all the way around this space, but we kind of have this core group of small meeting rooms or large study rooms. We'll continue to flush that out. And then kind of, a commons area, which is, maybe you didn't book a study room, but you need to take a 20-minute Zoom call or things like that. There could be booths and flexible furniture in that space. And then as we head further onto this half of the building, we get into the different youth services. So kind of the bridge is usually the young adult teen space, which we showed kind of here in this light teal space. That kind of wraps what could be a maker space, project room, used by various age groups, different staff programming, connecting from the teen, but also connecting from the children's department, which is this darker teal space here. So there's a pretty healthy children's collection plan for the project, and just overall a focus on the youth services for this building. We anticipate, young families will be one of the biggest users at this location. Youth services would have its own programming room. Both of these could open out into that space if you wanted, into that green space that we showed on the site plan. And then youth services kind of connects to over the staff area. So all staff area would really be, one large suite. We'll continue to explore how it gets divided up as needed, and staff restrooms and things like that. And then you really get a building support corner here at the upper right for mechanical and incoming delivery and all the functional things that we need to have.
Where is the coffee shop space? Is that white space?
Yeah, this is kind of labeled cafe. And this could be the actual built-in cafe if we need those services. Could be designed to be, unmanned or unstaffed a lot of the time, depending on how you guys would operate. But this whole kind of front area lobby, we envision feeling like that aesthetic and that vibe of your kind of cafe or coffee shop. The other component of kind of this early design phase is to start to identify, the architecture and the look and feel of the exterior of the building. And so it is shaped up to kind of take on two major concepts. So the first one is this kind of architecture of two stories. And, we talked the staff and leadership and also review the community surveys. And there's a lot of talk about warmth and, inviting spaces and natural light. And that's kind of pulls you back to some of the traditional elements of architecture, the historic kind of nature of downtown Noblesville and this warmth and invitingness that has. So we have kind of those components talking to us on one hand. And then there's also this, we want the image of, innovation and the future of our community. And we really want young families to be really excited and have a really dynamic building. So, we're kind of talking about two ends of the architectural spectrum, which is fine. So we dove in and, pulled out what we see as, well, why, what's the draw to some of this, historic or traditional architecture. And those, a lot of those buildings were done so well with, the layering and textures. It's all was built by hand. There's much more detail and ornateness. So pick up on that small scale. A lot of times there's symmetry within major components of the building. There's typically a really bold roof line or cornice line. The grounds of the building meets the sky. And then, on the other hand, there's, very kind of sculpted modern monolithic buildings. They make a big statement with their form. They're usually, glazed, mostly curtain wall, large windows. So those are the components that we saw as pros from both those styles of architecture. So we look for examples in the built world where people have done those, together. A lot of times you find the examples of it's an actually a traditional, historic building, especially on the East Coast or even overseas, where they've needed more space and they expand with this kind of minimalistic white curtain wall. But for our project, we think, you have a large site, kind of a long one-story building. How do we get that presence 200 feet off the road? We suggest that we envision this as, a very grounded, probably masonry warm, traditional material building coming out of the ground. And we kind of have that grade change and have a lot of landscaping. And then we have a very elegant, modern roof design that kind of, lightly comes over and floats over this building and creates, a glow in the evening and really opens up the building as you, come up to the ceilings. You can have lots of daylight filter through that system. So to talk, through kind of what we mean in two languages, if, you kind of squint and use your imagination, the top page, top of the page are these really bold roof lines. You can drive by at 50 miles an hour. It's, again, about 200 feet off the road, and you feel very impressed by this building. And then on the bottom, as you approach the building and walk up to it, it's very humanistic. It's got scale. It's got texture. It feels like, it's going to be great now and in 50 to 100 years when you're up against that wall. One project in particular we found did this same thing, all at once, new. So this kind of is setting the stage for us. This is in New Zealand, though. So, by a great architect out of Europe. So this combined those two elements really well. We think, the lower, portion of this building maybe doesn't have as much texture and scale that we see coming into our project, but they do well. And then concept number two is, how do we make this building as much inside outside type of space and connection to the site and the community as possible. So, it could be a courtyard type building. That's how you get the natural light as deep into the project as possible. Or we could look at moving almost a courtyard to the front of the building and you approach through the courtyard. We also have this kind of energy on the entrance corner of the building where you'd come off of Olio Road that we would see almost as a porch, but that's not going to be our main point of entry. It's not going to be staffed and visible. So how do we pull that entry around towards, one outdoor space that can layer on top of all those energies? And we think, really be a hub of activity almost every single day of the year. And then we have this idea of this, roof element and really the dynamic feature of the architecture. So we see that shifting over towards the right and top to kind of do everything, on the front facade at your welcoming point and put a lot of the design into that kind of quadrant of the building. Examples of what we mean by creating, a large covered space or courtyard at the entrance to the building. And these are both, very modern examples, but you can see kind of a 1.5 to 2 story space that kind of filters daylight through, protects you from rain, maybe in certain areas, maybe right off of the program room, you get covered outdoor space for some events that can happen there. Another outside one that is a little bit more traditional leaning to the left. And then how do we kind of take some of these cues and that roof structure and maybe even pull it, over the inside rooms like that community room and still maybe filter daylight through. I mean, airports are, famous for having huge roof forms for those same reasons. They have 1 million square foot buildings on one floor. So it becomes all about that line drawn in elevation, but they do have great examples of creating these spaces. So we would just be a much smaller scale. So that's kind of an update of where we're at midway through the conceptual design phase. Okay. Comments, discussion?
One of the big public feedback we got, which solicited, was they like the idea of a warmer, more inviting traditional space. I like the direction you're going with that. I like the kind of courtyard idea, kind of probably not using the right word, but kind of make use of the negative space of the building to create that second space. I think it's cool. And if you kind of integrate that, what I think you were trying to say, or with the roofing feature, I think that could be really neat.
Yeah, I think, we kind of said like, we're gonna try and make that outdoor room best outdoor room in the state. It's like, that's gonna, people are gonna come there, I think, just to hang out in that space. And we talk about what they market it as, but the space in Carmel, the Sun King is at, and the activity level there and stuff. It's like that quality of outdoor space. You can find it in, big cities, but it's not very often. I think that space is great, but it's like at that level, we want something here on that side of Noble Skull.
Yeah, that's terrific.
It,
Guess big picture, I guess, what do you see the next steps in your work?
Yeah, so we're working on renderings, architecture, refinement that follows these ideas. And, we would suggest that, before it formally would go to financial, request, you'll want that material with it. You guys have quite a while, I think, until that gets scheduled, if you decide to go forward with it. But that's what we're preparing, and that will also be able to help reflect on the budget and make sure we're in check there. So proposed project lines up with a number. You can take both those things forward to the community and.
We just met with the bond, working on the bond side. So what we would like to do, especially since we have the newer board members, is have Sarah and Kristen from Ice Miller come out at our February, if you're available to be here a little early and do a board work session, another board work session to just go over, the bond part of it again and talk through, timelines if we want to move forward with the project. And then, so if you would be available at 5 or 5:15, I think they said 5, for the February board meeting to just review what the bond process would look like and answer just any questions that you have about, project.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, because I know we had that one meeting, we discussed this, something that's slept since then.
I was gonna say, and it's not something that we're so in tune with that it really sticks, and now that we're getting closer, I think that's a good idea.
I think so too, and then, and Michael is a new board member, and we'll have, Courtney who will be a new board member, so just to make sure everybody to have the chance to ask as many questions and feel comfortable.
On board, any objections to that? All right, February?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. All right, any comments or questions for Kevin? Well, Kevin, thanks for all the thought you put.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's really exciting project.
Kevin and I are both really competitive, so we both want to make sure this is the best ever.
Right, moving on to our next item on the agenda is the resolution to pay the one-time attorney's fee for the HEPL Foundation. Let's take that down. Let's say we got one of our board members on the foundation.
I can do that one. So, this is something, that, just as we were establishing the Title and C3, that Ann did, some work on this, and, that the library would be allowed to make a one-time payment for these fees to establish the foundation. Any context to add there?
I didn't bill for all of the time, but that is a good portion of the time for getting them up and going and qualified. Then you'll see the $600 paid to the IRS back early in the year is an expense that we fronted to get their qualification. And so I just asked Melissa, do I build a foundation now, or do I present it to you? And so
It was a lot of work, and we had to be persistent about a lot of things, and we really appreciate it. I think it's a good boost for the foundation if, that was part of what we provided to get it off the ground, to go ahead and cover that cost. Now that the foundation will be paying us back for years and years and years. And, you know, they've got really good ideas for fundraising, and I think it's gonna be a great benefit to the library.
So, any other questions? All right, do I have a motion?
I'll move to accept the resolution for long-term training for
Seconded. All right, discussion. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries, the resolution is approved. All right, moving on to item number 8, the one-time compensation adjustments for the AERs. Now, we do this every year, correct, to recognize the staff who have maxed out on the, because they hit the top of their salary range.
Although we are gonna be looking at the, especially the people in the lower ranges, that we're gonna be readjusting the ranges, because I'm not sure that we are keeping up with where the world is and how much things cost, and, so we are gonna be doing a salary study for those. But yes, this is something that we have historically done, and there are a handful of staff who are at the max. So this would be a 3% one-time compensation adjustment in lieu of a raise.
Questions from Melissa?
Number 2, correct? No, the number 2 person on there.
I have to look at it again, so let me look at it real quick.
You guys have it is first documents.
3983.
Yeah, it seems really low. I just wondered if it's correct.
Oh, yes, because some of them are just, it's not much, or I think that we can give them a raise, but then they hit the max, and so it would just be the amount. Okay, I see, I know what you're talking about. So, yes, it's just that we can give them a raise up to this point, and which gets them to the very top, and then the amount that would be beyond that would be.
Okay, got it.
Yes, okay, now I get it.
Just making sure you're not ripping them off.
We try not to.
I understand that are typically longer serving employees too, right?
Yes, and we do value though, like there is, definitely value in having having employees who have been here for a very long
Yeah.
time, and help. They can provide guidance to the, newer employees, and just the historical and knowledge they have of the library, and they are very much, valued.
Question item number 8. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the one-time compensation adjustment. Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries, the adjustment is approved.
And there are 2 on there, because there's the one for the group, and then there's the second one for Megan. There's one. Those are required. First is separate. I can, Megan Benson is in charge of our maker spaces. And last year, Molly and I went to her and asked, we showed her the space here, and we said, we want to create a maker space here. We asked her to turn something that does not exist into what it is now. And we told her we didn't want to recreate exactly what we had at Fisher's, and we didn't have the space to, so we needed to come up with a whole new idea. So she had to go out and find, what equipment goes in there, what vendors should we use. She had to figure out staffing and scheduling, and then hire the staff, and then train the staff. In similar scenarios, we have given staff additional compensation, and at the time, it didn't occur to us to, which we normally do for other staff who've done that. So, having looked at just the totality of all the work that she put into just getting that space created, and, getting all of the equipment in and learning all of the equipment, creating training modules for all of the equipment, just looking at all of the work she's put in, that we would like to rectify our error and give her a one-time compensation adjustment for the work that she put in to launch that space. So this isn't something that we usually do, because we usually pay ahead of time, but we would request that one-time compensation adjustment for her.
performance bonus.
Yes.
I would say, like you said, if it's not something the library normally does, that this sets a new precedent so that when there are other significant projects, that you're sure to reward those in place as well.
Yeah, and that's something we hope with, that we do anticipate seeing with the, new, we're working with, revamping our, like the value, staff evaluations, and that we want to make sure that that's included so that as staff do, like, work on a project of significant value to the library, then it is recognized and rewarded.
So yeah, I know the board in the past has looked at ways, and it's kind of been a challenge. How do we pick out, recognize star employees? So I think this is totally consistent with that. As we've kind of had trouble finding a good way to do it. So.
Yeah, we hope that, we are hoping for next year we will have a systematic way. Yes.
Do I have a motion?
Move we do the one-time compensation adjustment for that, this particular employee. Create the makerspace.
All right, I will second the motion. Any additional discussion then? All right, all in favor of the additional one-time adjustment? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Adjustment approved. All right, next item is, we're back to the staff chairs. Looks like we want to pay it out of a different fund.
Yes, we do, correct. Okay, so when we put it, when we put it, made the request, we said general fund or rainy day. So we would like to, see if you would approve allowing, Kim to pay for the staff chairs from the, from Noblesville portion from the Noblesville bond fund to allow us, to use up remaining funds there.
And trust our CFO.
Do we need to, do they need to vote on that to approve that?
Yes. Because you specified two funds before, you're gonna pay it out of a different one, so you'll need a motion.
I'll go ahead and motion to approve paying it out, or to change the fund we're paying it out. So it looks like we're looking at.
It's only a portion of it.
Okay, the portion.
Yeah.
Noblesville chairs out of Noblesville bond.
All right, so yeah, we'd like to pay, I make a motion to pay the Noblesville chairs out of the Noblesville bond fund.
That's it.
All right, any additional discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Funding change is approved. All right, item number 10, do we have an update for the foundation?
Lisa could not be here tonight, so, we do have her written report, and then I don't know if, Kathy wants to say anything, or Susan or Michelle have anything to want to add?
No, just thank you. I think we've had a really good first year. And I'm certain that will continue on. Sorry to lose Michelle, but glad to have Susan.
I'm sticking with them though.
I know you are.
Thanks for the great start.
Thank you for helping us get started.
Any other discussion or questions on the foundation? All right, and we're on to director's report.
So I'm going to start off talking about, we participated in the Noblesville Christmas Parade for the third year in a row, and this is kind of my favorite event that we do. So we had it's fun to get ready for it and to participate in it. So this year we did a tropical Christmas theme, and I have to say a huge thank you to Anita for spearheading the decorating committee, or all of the decorations, and then Brad did a really good job keeping us all organized and on task. And so I can tell you that we won an award for this year. So we won the Jingle Bell Rockstar Award.
It was a major award.
We have it in the boardroom upstairs, so we have, it's pretty amazing award. The star of our float was, Peter. He's an assistant in our night space, and he offered to sing, and we were like, okay. And then he showed up and he's an amazing singer. And like you thought that you were listening to a recording, so we started making lists of all of the things we wanted to do. So we're gonna have to have him, sing at library events. So, that was the library parade. Library Con took place in November, and that's one of our signature events. This is our second year doing it, and we welcomed over 1,300 people at the event this year. That event, it requires staff members from across lots of different departments working together and to plan and present the program. So it's the main people working on it are Danielle, Allison, Aaron and Sydney, and they work on planning it, but then there's lots of staff members from just all across the library who help either work the desk or set things up, and so they did a really great job. We heard tons of really great feedback from the event, and we can't wait to bring the event back next year. And then also Kelsey and her team did a great job promoting the event, and you maybe saw Kelsey on the news promoting it with our Maker resident. And then speaking of Kelsey and her team, they were just at the annual library marketing conference, and Jane did a presentation on website accessibility. And then her whole team did a presentation for attendees about the really great program, or the really great library card sign up promotions that they do. We have started construction in Fisher, so if you go visit, you'll see the temporary wall has gone up. They are starting in the program rooms, and things seem to be going very smoothly. I'll have to send pictures back because it just looks completely different. They took everything down, and all the walls are down, and it's amazing how quickly you can tear a room apart. Like just in a day, it was just, everything was gone. So I just have to say thanks to Matt from Veritas. I mean, I know we pay them to do this, but he does it so well, and he's just so he did such a great job of asking all the questions that we don't know to ask, and making sure that everything is staying, on target. And we just are really grateful for him and all his hard work. And a new venture we're embarking upon is we are partnering with HSE schools and the city of Fishers to provide field trips for the kindergartners, all of the kindergartners in HSE. So in HSE, they do something, they have it's a guaranteed field trip experience in every grade level. So one of the grades, they all go to the Maker Playground. Another grade, they visit the city. Another grade goes to Conner Prairie. So every grade had a guaranteed field trip experience except for kindergarten. So they wanted to do an art focus for the kindergartners. So starting in January, we will be on almost every Friday of the spring semester. We will be welcoming lots and lots of 5 and 6-year-olds into the building, and they will be coming into the Ignite space. And we get to share that space with the kindergartners and their chaperones and their teachers. And they'll be doing an art activity that Megan and her team came up with. And then the youth services department will be involved. We're going to be creating some literacy kits, books that will be sent out to the schools ahead of time. So we're really excited. This is a pilot program, so we're starting it this semester, and then hopefully it will continue on. And I will say that we did not get lots of time to plan and prepare for this. So when I went to Megan and Celeste, our youth services manager, and they were all on board with this, because we feel very strongly that we want these kids coming into the library to see what we can offer, and that that there are art activities that they can do without having to pay any money, and that this is available to them. So we felt really strongly that we wanted to be a part of this. So we didn't have a lot of time, and they were all on board with this, and with great attitudes. I'm just really grateful for them. And then I just want to let you all know we are expanding our library of things collection. Ryan's been working on adding new things. So we started out with just lawn and yard games, and now we've got all sorts of things like that. I know we just added a telescope. We've got one of those scanners that you can plug in, and it'll tell you what the code is telling you on your car. We've got lawn equipment. I just approved an order for colorblind glasses. So we're just very excited to keep expanding that collection. So stay tuned to see what's coming up available next. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the church.
think tools would be cool.
Yeah, that is coming, yes.
Okay, because yeah, the other day I needed a Dremel. I don't want to buy a Dremel.
We have a drum.
Would you really?
We do.
It's amazing, the library.
I think that one might be in Fisher, but. Okay, in
Yeah, I have to do that.
No?
Are you and Matt happy with Learn Agent so far?
Yes, yes, they've been, yeah, right, we feel, they've been very responsive to all of our needs, and, Karen has also done a great job, Kevin, and then Katie is the other architect working on the project, and I would just say Katie is a frighteningly competent human. So like, yeah, the whole team is just, I think. And we've just hammered home over and over again that we need this project to go smoothly, and we need it to minimize the impact to the public. So far, it's been
Good. Questions from Melissa or comments? Thank you for your work as always. All right. Then on to our first added item. So like I said, unfortunately, this is Michelle's last meeting, as a trustee. She's one of our two board, liaisons to the foundation. So we decided whether we're going to appoint another foundation liaison or whether we are satisfied with, one liaison, because Susan is currently serving as well. I guess I'd be interested in your opinions.
I think in the interest of not spreading everyone too thin, one representative from the board is probably enough, because when we serve on the foundation board, we don't vote. We can be involved in discussion and bring back information and take information, you know, because we have a little more knowledge occasionally. Michelle had more knowledge than I do. I scrape around and come up with a little bit, but I think as a liaison position, I don't know that we need two members from the library trustees.
I would agree. One seems sufficient to maintain that connection and that communication.
And Lisa's been really good about, you know, reporting to the board and that kind of thing, so, you feel a little superfluous when you can, I mean, you tribute, but, you know, as a non-voting member, more non-voting members on that particular board.
Anyone disagree or dying to be a liaison?
I was gonna say, yeah, if there's somebody who just can't wait, I'll be quiet, yeah, right?
All right, so is it in the foundation's bylaws or our bylaws, what, if anything, do we need to change?
I think it was in the foundation bylaws that we requested two members, representatives from the trustees.
It may be in the foundation bylaws. I've slept since then, but they can't require you to appoint. And so if you don't appoint another, I frankly wouldn't go back and change their bylaws. I mean, they could, but there may be a time where you've got two board members that are interested but not able to attend all of the meetings, and it could be useful to have the two appointments. And so for now, even if it's in their bylaws, they can't require you to appoint the second. And for now, I'd let the second just sit vacant, but have that flexibility to appoint another one if you change your mind,
That makes sense.
or if the need arises.
So the status quo is we have two slots, we want them, and one is vacant, we're okay with that, it sounds like. So I'm not sure there's any action we can take. All right. All right, Michelle, this is your final meeting, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, well, I did ask Melissa and Craig if I could take a few minutes to share a statement of gratitude. And I will read that. I didn't memorize it, but I've been here 6 years as a library trustee. And, this should not take 6 minutes. So, in January, I'm joining the adjunct faculty at the University of Indianapolis. My classes will conflict with board meetings, so tonight is my final meeting a bit earlier than planned. My term was set to end in August of 2026. I'm grateful to Noblesville Schools for the trust placed in me as their appointee, and especially to Christy Crosser, Stephanie Lambert, and Dr. Joe Forgy on the school board who renewed my appointment in summer of 22. Thanks also to Dr. Heil and Marnie Cook in the administration, and to my fellow appointee, the legendary English teacher in Alderville, Kent Lee. I began this role in January 2020, just ahead of the pandemic, followed by 2 years of intense controversy and national attention. During that time, Bill Crandall was a mentor to me, and I was fortunate to serve alongside Craig Seavey and Andre McShaw. Their steady wisdom and professionalism balanced my emotion and passion and helped to carry us through that challenging time. Our attorney, Ann Poindexter, then and now, also modeled grace under pressure for me, and I'm glad you agreed to come back. I want to recognize former Director Edgar Waterman, who remains one of the strongest and smartest people I know. Our librarians and library staff are everyday heroes, especially from 2021 to 2023 and still today. Also want to acknowledge the group I fondly call the Library Ladies, who sit in the front rows and tirelessly advocate for intellectual freedom. I admire your persistence and your wisdom. I'm especially proud of the collaborative and purpose-driven work that this board has done during the past 2 years, planning for a new branch and establishing the Library Foundation. I'm happy I can continue to serve the library through the new foundation alongside Lisa Longo, Kathy White, Susan Crandall, and others. Our recent forward momentum is thanks to the leadership of our director, Melissa Loisel. Many thanks to her for her leadership and also to Molly Morawski. I'm confident this board will continue to thrive under their vision. Finally, I thank my friends and family for their support, especially my 2 young adult daughters who took this journey alongside me and made my service very personal. This library has been a part of our lives since they were born. I was especially proud when they became 2 of the many patrons and advocates who wrote to John Green in 2023, and he wrote back to them. Super cool. He's a hero to me as well. I'll close with the words that are painted on the garage door of my old town Noblesville home. It says, "Open books, open minds." I will always believe in this truth. I am deeply grateful to this community for the honor of serving this outstanding library system. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Michelle. You've certainly been a dedicated and consequential board member. Now I'll be starting with you.
Thank you. I'm glad you
We're going to miss you. Yes. And thank you for your persistence and your strength because it carried through some tough times.
Mm-hmm. We did. I'll still be here sitting at the library, right? It's been a while, but I can get here. Good luck with the class. That's exciting. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, I'll have my hammer, but meeting adjourned.